Welcome back to Jamestown. A little bit different weather than last time you were here.
Just slightly, yes.
Did when Matt called and said, "Hey, I'd love to have you come," what was your first reaction?
Yeah, absolutely. Matt actually asked me last year and I wasn't able to make it, so I told him I would definitely do it this year, given I had a lot more time in the off season, and I was glad to fly out here.
And it was quite a year last year.
Yeah, it was. It was definitely a great experience, and I was blessed to be able to stay up for the majority of the year.
When you got the call up, always get that that manager comes in and says, "Hey, Steve, guess what?" Did you have one of those moments?
Kind of. The first time I got called up was in 2010, and I was actually driving home after the AA championship we won in Jacksonville. So I got a phone call on my way back home saying they needed an extra pitcher because they kind of used up everyone. So I had to make a quick U-turn and make it back. And then last year, the first time he pulled me in the office, I got called up for a day, sent back down, and then I got a call on my hotel phone at like 9 in the morning when we were in Sacramento, California. And we drove down to San Francisco and was there for the rest of the year.
When you're on the mound first time, and all of a sudden you look on back over the scoreboard, you're kind of rubbing up the baseball, and there's your name on the scoreboard. And next thing you got to turn around, and there's a live batter in front of you. That little lump in your throat?
I say initially when I was running out to the field, more so than once I throw my first warm-up pitch. I remember I was in Milwaukee. I was fine after that. If you're gonna be able to get hitters out, you got to find a way to put your anxiety, calm it down and calm the adrenaline down to be able to focus on what you're doing.
We recently had a sports psychologist here, and he works for the Detroit Tigers, and he was saying that part of what they do is a lot of testing of the players to see how they react to external and internal forces. And that sometimes those techniques are used, sometimes simplistically, when the catcher comes out to the relief pitcher and they have a conversation. Sometimes he'll look him straight in the eyes and kind of get into his space to get his head turned around, because that's deemed to be the best way pitcher reacts. And sometimes they just kind of go to the side and pat him on the back and tell him that's the best way to react. Does the Marlins do that? Do the Marlins do psychological testing on you?
No, not really. We have a sports psychologist, but he's kind of there, if you need him. He's obviously open to talk to anyone, but no one's really brought up anything about testing and stuff like that. But some catchers do. Now that you talk about it, some catchers do come up and they get beside you, and that same catcher I've had come up and look me straight in the eye during certain situations. So, it's pretty interesting actually that you brought that up.
You get drafted, and your first stop is really here. Did you know anything about Jamestown, New York?
I did not actually, no. All I heard was the name Jammers, and it's kind of like, oh, it's a pretty bizarre name, but we were talking about it earlier, and it's fitting for the area. 15 miles north of here is a lot of vineyards and stuff, so makes sense to me now. That's about the extent of the knowledge I had.
You were here for most of the year, weren't you?
Yeah, I was here actually the whole year in 2007.
So I'm going to show you the baseball cards.
Okay.
And if you can remember some of these guys, maybe a vignette, something funny. This is private stock. This will not go up on ESPN yet. So if I'll just throw out some of these guys, and if you have a reaction, have at it.
You want me to start with the coaches here?
Sure, Darren.
Everson, very intense. He'd like to give the umpires an earful many games, and sometimes I thought it was funny, and sometimes it gets a little intimidating. CC, Charlie Corbell, he's awesome. He's one of my favorite pitching coaches. Obviously, being here my first season here, he's pretty intense. Didn't mind getting on a lot of the younger high school guys, and I had him in AAA. And he's a lot more laid back up there, while I was there. So he's a great guy and a great golfer too, by the way. He hustled us one time. Won't get into that. J-Rod, Johnny Rodriguez, nicest guy, very good, Christian guy. And his son actually plays for the Devil Rays, and he hit a double off me, so wasn't too happy about that. But he was a great guy to be around, and I really enjoyed, playing for him, even though he was the hitting coach. Andrew Alsop, we became pretty good friends during the year, and bought my first Xbox off him, so I guess I have a lot to blame for him for me playing some video games here and there. Mark Badgley was one of our favorite guys. He was an absolute character. We went to, what's the amusement park north of here?
Midway.
No, it used to be Six Flags New York, I think.
Darien Lake?
Darien Lake.
Oh my gosh.
And he was freaking out, like over the roller coasters and everything. He was absolutely hilarious. AJ Batista was one of my best friends. We still keep in touch regularly. He's doing great. Very intelligent, one of the hardest workers I've ever met, one of the smartest baseball players I've ever met. And Adam Campbell, who I actually think looks exactly like John. I couldn't figure it out yesterday and it just clicked. We became pretty good friends, and he was also, I mean, he was a funny guy to be around, and he had a great second season here. Correa, he had a pretty good year in Greensboro, and he started off with us in Greensboro, and we were expecting a lot from him, and he ended up getting injured, and then traded to the Giants. So I don't have too much on him. Faria was one of my was a little fiery guy. He's always good for a couple of jokes here and there. I mean, he just kept it light in the bullpen. Spoke pretty good English, actually. Galbiso was crazy. I remember him striking out. He walked the bases loaded, then struck out the side here and did some little dance while screaming, and we just hit the floor laughing. Hammonds was one of my rivals in college. Actually, we went to D2 schools, and he went to Tusculum. I went to Carson Newman, and so I didn't know what to expect when I got here with him. But he turned out to be he's one of the nicest guys I've ever met, and very, very good Christian guy. Chris Ingolia, he was. If you've ever seen the movie Kingpin, he reminded me of one of the bad guys in Kingpin. He's a pretty funny guy too. This whole team is actually hilarious now that I'm going back at this, because we got Mark Lewis. I mean, dude was a genius with his jokes. I mean, him, Andy Jackson were. I mean, I guess if you're a lefty, you gotta be a little off. So these guys kind of fit the mold. Corey Madden's also one of my best friends still. He just got invited to the big league camp, actually. When he got sent down here midway through the season, and I didn't even realize he was a baseball player until he started throwing bullpens. And I mean, he was lights out the entire year. Garrett Parcell. Man, I can't say enough. He's top 3 funniest people I've ever met. I mean, the dude is, personality is just off the wall hilarious.
What would he do? What did he strike you as being hilarious?
Everything he just says something stupid all the time. And you can't, he's one of those guys you just can't help but laugh at everything he says. He'll be standing a certain way, he'll say something a certain way, he'll say something he knows is not funny, and he'll just laugh at his own joke, and then we just start laughing. Or he'll just use the 5 same jokes for the entire year. You think it'd get old, but we just can't help it. We just cry laughing. I won't get into details with him, but he's got some funny stuff. Sanabia is a good friend of mine. You could see here, he had the makings to be a good pitcher. He just left the ball up a little bit, and now, of course, he's figured it out. He's an excellent pitcher. He had a great year with the Marlins in 2010. Tony Snow, I actually saw him this year in Seattle. He's from Seattle. Looks exactly like what's the guy from Ghostbusters? I got a brain block.
Bill Murray?
Bill Murray. I used to call him Bill. I think he looks just like him. He's a funny guy, great guy to be around, and always a good time. Jay Voss, he's actually the first guy I played catch with. Before I came to Jamestown, we went down to Jupiter just to get the drug testing done and physicals, and then we got sent up here, and he happened to be there too. So we spent some good time together, and we stayed in the same place here and in Greensboro. And he's a very, very good guy, really nice. Tyler Belcher was a great catcher. Unfortunately, I don't know if he was released or he wasn't really, didn't get to where he expected, and had some important things going on at home. And he was an awesome guy from Bristol, Tennessee. So I always try to catch him at a University of Tennessee football game because he was a huge fan, and I just never worked out. But he was one of my favorite guys. Morgan Cummins, I lived with him. Also, as well as Voss and Annitzberger. We'll get to Annitzberger. And Morgan was a great dude to be around. Worked real hard, and brought a little SoCal flavor to the team. Torrey Langley, we always gave him a hard time because of his short stature, but the guy can throw out some runners. I mean, he has a cannon for an arm, and you could tell he was going to be a good ball player. And then Annitzberger, I ended up being really good friends with him, Chicago guy. Him and Ryan Curry, who's actually up here next, are still very good friends, and I keep in touch with both of them pretty regularly. Not so much Ryan anymore because he's out of baseball. Baseball now. But Curry, he's still playing. He was in Double-A last year, had a pretty good year, and we spent a lot of time in the fall league together. And let's see. Ben Lassiter is a great first baseman. He's been playing exceptionally well over the years. Very nice guy. He's one of the top first basemen I think I've played with, to be honest with you. And Ozzie Martinez, I'm very good friends with him. He got traded to the White Sox actually, and each year he got better and better. I don't think he played too much here. We were talking about it, and then all of a sudden he just caught fire and started working hard and. He became an everyday player in High A and Double A. And Double A, I think he was an All-Star in 2010 before he got called up. Carlos Piste, when I first got here, I looked at him as kind of the team leader. I'm not sure, but I thought he was here before. And he was very, very professional. So, whenever we had a some game, he'd say a little bit after the game, just to kind of keep our minds straight. Rigoberto Silverio had some he has some weird antics in the locker room that it was really funny. I won't get into it. But now I think he's a hitting coach in maybe GCL. He was an awesome guy. And Lucas Waters, very, very nice guy, strong Christian guy. I noticed that about him, and we had some good talks and spent a lot of time together. And Coughlin, I didn't play with Coughlin except for last year in majors, and he's one of my favorite players, and his knee's killing him, and he's out there every day busting his butt. And also another very strong Christian guy, and someone I looked up to while I was there and talked to a lot. Chris Dunn, one of the fastest guys I'd seen in a while. I think he got sent down, and then I don't know if he was hurt or something. No, he got sent down. Then the following year he started out in Jupiter, had an awesome year. And then he got hurt, and I think that kind of, dampened his season. But he was a great guy, a lot of fun. Very good at Guitar Hero, if I remember right. Him and Madden were pretty good. And Tom Hickman, very sweet swing. And I was impressed with, because he was like, kind of a smaller, lanky guy, a kid, and he seems so young. And then all of a sudden I see him parking balls over the trees here in batting practice. And I'm going to a small college, you don't see, power like that, and I was just blown away with how young all these guys were and how developed they were. Jacobs, I thought he was a lot older than he was, and I realized he was like 2 years younger than me. And I also found out he was on a TV show prior to this season, the one where like if you have a girlfriend, the parents bring in another girl and you go on a date. It's like an MTV show. I forget what it was called.
Parental Control?
It might have been something like that, and we watched him on there, and it was absolutely hilarious. How he acted. Cates was like, I'm gonna swing as hard as I can, and if I make contact, it's gonna go a mile, and if it's not, I might strike out here and there. And he was a great guy to be around, and I worked very hard, and I actually like that approach when I see hitters just swinging as hard as they can. I think it's awesome. And Brian Peterson, he's up in the big leagues, had an awesome year, and he's one of my favorite guys, and he works so hard. Every ball he hits, he's sprinting down the line. He plays the game like it should be, and I think he's a very good role model for a lot of the young kids out there. Rayner, I actually haven't played with before. I saw him. We spent some time in spring training, so he just seems like a very nice guy. And from what I understand, he was quite the player too. I didn't really get to see him play much. Cesar Romano is our trainer. I'm pretty good friends with him, and he's an awesome guy as well. I mean, this whole team was great. Cesar, we gave him a lot of crap, and he put up with it very well. And some people wouldn't be able to handle some of the stuff, but he was cool. And Bubba Grape. That reminds me actually with Bubba Grape, Jacobs put on his mascot uniform, and I think it was Mahoning Valley coach got ejected the night before, so they were out there doing their BP, and Jacobs walks out there in I think it was Jacobs with a Bubba Grape costume and starts reenacting the whole argument scene, like kicking dirt on the plate, like pointing at the coach and everything. Everyone thought it was hilarious. So yeah, it covers that.
No, okay, so let's assume one of these other guys picks up this card.
Yeah.
What are they going to say about him?
They're going to say, probably going to say he's pretty, I mean, I assume they'd say pretty nice guy, very quiet in the locker room. I tend to be quiet, but also very supportive. Anyone had anything they needed to talk about, I always told them, the truth. And I hope they say, I worked hard and I had a passion for the game, because every time I went out to pitch or in practice or whatever, I did everything 100%. And I hope that they people have noticed that and noticed how genuine and how good I try to treat people. So,
what kind of pitcher would they say you were?
Well, in Jamestown, they'd probably say just a sinker ball, a hard sinker pitcher, because all I knew how to do was throw a two-seamer. I didn't really have much of an off speed, so I just kind of grip it and rip it. So, hopefully, I'd assume that just power sinker guy and just unorthodox. There you go. It'd be a little bit unorthodox.
Unorthodox in the sense of your delivery?
Yes. Yeah, my delivery has a little funk to it. So. Something the way I've always thrown, so I don't know any different.
What kind of funk? So visualize it for me here.
Well, in my head, I'm throwing straight over the top, but when you watch the video, I'm hunched over and I'm dropping down close to sidearm, low 3/4, from a very wide arm slot here, and very low to the, fairly low to the ground. Whereas a tall guy like me, you think would be over the top, throwing with some angle. So it brings a lot of deception to the hitters, and a lot of hitters come up to me and they're like, I don't know, I hate hitting off you. All I see is, butt and elbows coming at me, and I'm like, yeah, some of the lankiness I guess helps too. So.
In high school, they referred to you as Bambi. Why?
Oh, because I hit a growth spurt, and I don't know if it was coordination and also obviously the way I looked, but it looked like I was like a newborn deer. So skinny, and I left high school I think like 6'5", 175. So I mean I was pretty skinny.
Did they put you on weights?
In college they did. In high school I didn't really have much of a work ethic for some reason. I don't know what my problem was, but once I hit college, that changed within the first day, and I realized what I was missing out on, and some sort of strength program and conditioning was obviously very helpful. I needed it.
So you were named the team's Rookie of the Year, together with Mike Stanton being named the Marlins MVP, also played in Jamestown, by the Miami chapter of the Baseball Writers Association of America. Why?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I guess they liked me. There was only a couple of us rookies there, I guess, and I had a decent year.
I mean, you had quite a record, 43 appearances. I mean, that's pretty significant. 2-1, 2.73, struck out 53 batters in 52 2/3 innings. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's. Were you destined to be a relief pitcher?
Yeah. I mean, even in college, I was primarily a relief pitcher. We tried starting my junior year, and that didn't work out very well at all. And then ever since pro ball, I've never started. I've always been a relief pitcher, and which is actually, from what I understand, pretty rare. Reed Cornelius, our bullpen coach, said a lot of relief pitchers, should start because you get more reps, and you can, usually starters have better command, and it's kind of rare that. I stayed a relief pitcher throughout my entire career.
Here's a quote from New York. Talk about you, that you're not quite ready to adopt your own signature game-ending salute, sort of Jose Valverde type thing, But the rookie showed off a doozy the other day. after inducing Placido Palenko to bounce out for the final out of Florida's 6-5 win in Philadelphia. The 6'5", 200-pound right-hander couldn't contain his emotion. He cocked his hand back and swung it down, punching the air with an enthusiastic fist pump.
Yeah.
Did you give some thought as to that, or was that just...
No, it just happened. I was definitely in the moment. You know, that was we were talking about last night too, and I mean, one of the biggest adrenaline rushes I've ever had, and so being able to go out there and try to put it aside. You know, they already scored a runner in scoring position with one out. I really had to, figure something out. So I couldn't let them tie or win the ball game, and got a pop out, I think, with Victorino, and then with Polanco grounded out to short. I was just, I don't know, something just took over me. I just let it rip.
Speaking of letting it rip, your manager let it rip one time too. I saw a YouTube piece. You didn't talk specific about it, but Jack McKeon chews out you.
Yeah.
Why?
Because there's a guy on second, and we're pitching in Arlington. That's a hitter's park, so there's a lot of high run ball games, I guess you can say. So putting runners on base is not necessarily a good idea, especially earlier in the game. And so I decided to pitch a little bit around Hamilton and fell behind him and try to throw a 3-1 pitch outside, off the plate. It was off the plate, but gave up a 2-run home run to him. So he wanted me to stop throwing so many expletive words, sliders, and attack hitters with a fastball. And he made his point clear, and that's what I did.
And he made his point clear, didn't he?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And I respect that, though. I think it's great when coaches.
What did he do? Did he come in to talk to you about it, or was he just sort of a press conference type thing?
No, he came out to the mound and talked to me about it in the game.
In your face?
Oh yeah. Now I'm looking down at him like this. He's a little short, fiery guy, and he just is ripping on me. And I was like, all right, kind of lit a fire under me, and threw I think 2 more innings.
Were you involved in an intentional walk pitch?
Yeah. Actually, I was looking at that video last night because we're using it. I'm speaking at the church when I go home, and we're going to use that as an example for something. And it was pretty ugly. It's a tied game, 1-1. Both offenses were kind of struggling, and gave up a double, I think, and. Yeah, gave up a double. I think a double. No. I don't know. There's a guy on third, actually. I forget how he got there, to be honest with you. Sorry. And so, I mean, there's, 2 outs. No, 1 out. All right. And I'm going to intentionally walk a guy just so I can get a guy in first, for a double play. The guy I was walking wasn't necessarily fast. He's a lefty, so, righty-lefty matchup, and he swings everything as hard as he could. So if he gets into one, he could win the ball games. The 9th inning, but we were the home team in Seattle because of a concert at our place. I forget. Anyways, so I threw the first 2, intentional walk pitches fine. And the third one, I don't know what happened. It was like at the last second, something got in my head and it just took off from me. And I overthrew Buck by quite a bit, and he got back to the ball quick, threw it, and it one hop me. I tried to catch it on the short hop and tag out Ackley, who's scored from third. If I picked it clean, it would have been out, but I also missed the ball, so it was like a double whammy. And that ended up being the game-winning run because we didn't score the next inning. Yeah, I think League came in and shut the door, and yeah, it was pretty rough feeling. Yeah, but I had to man up and kind of try to forget about it.
When you show this in church, this video. What's the message? Kind of the riding high in April, shot down in May. The ebbs and flows of baseball.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Just baseball is my job and my livelihood. So talking about it in church. Just say something like everyone messes up, everyone misses a lot of pitches. This is how God's able to help you deal with it, and kind of go from there, explaining some scripture and everything like that, and using imagery and. Is also helpful because I'm speaking to a younger group, so they don't get bored. They can, and then they'll probably get a laugh out of it too. So it makes it a lot lighter, and then the conversation can get a little bit deeper as well.
You mentioned that several of the ball players that you had got to know, and you talked about their Christian faith. What's been your faith journey?
Well, in college, I didn't really grow up really in the church, and my sophomore year in college, I went to a Baptist school, and I didn't really know what that meant necessarily. I just knew it was somewhat religious, and I realized how religious it was and how serious, people don't mess around with the Word of God. It's their life, and a lot of people, a lot of my close friends ended up rubbing off on me, and learned a lot from them, and went to FCA, and I was saved my sophomore year, and from then on it's been up and down. But having being around other ball players that are Christians as well is very helpful, and you can relate to them and talk to them about those things. And those guys were kind of further along than I was. I was still learning, and helped build me up and show me God's love.
Do you guys have chapel? I mean,
Yeah.
I know there's nothing quite like what football players at the end of a game, they'll sort of gather together and have a word of prayer.
Uh-huh.
I assume that doesn't happen in baseball just because of the nature of the...
Right. Not so much. Every Sunday we have baseball chapel because a lot of times we don't have time to get into church, so that's basically our church. Home or away, there's always a baseball chaplain. And actually when we were when I was up with the Marlins this year, we had Bible studies, every Wednesday, and those were extremely helpful. And the entire year we covered, the book of James and really dug in there. And that's like one of my favorite books of the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
So it was definitely encouraging, to see a lot of guys, that have been in the league for so many years, still maintaining and keeping their faith and, trusting in God's word.
So do you pinch yourself when you wake up in the morning and say, gee, there's a baseball card floating around and it says Miami Marlins and it's me?
Not so much. I'm just kind of I'm just thankful basically for it, just to have the opportunity to play baseball. And it's pretty cool, I guess, to see your name on a card and everything. But, at the end of the day, I'm just happy to play ball. And, I think other people kind of are more into it than I am, to be honest with you, like family members and stuff like that. Like, to me, I just feel like, just any other person just happens to be lucky enough to play baseball.
Speaking of baseball, the Marlins have been exceedingly active the off season. Have they been checking in with you as far as when they decided to sign Jose Reyes? Did they ask your opinion?
I haven't talked to anyone. Like, none of the coaches or anything have called. I'm just assuming because it's been such a busy off season. But it could be a good thing or a bad thing. They know I'm going to get my work in because that's just the type of player I am. I'm very focused and very serious. So, but still, it's coming close, and I'm going to be down there in a week anyway. So I like to get down there early. But the acquisitions we made have been pretty interesting, and I think great for the ball club.
Where do you see Ramirez? Do you think he'll play third base?
I think so. Supposedly, I haven't been paying really close attention to it, but he's, as far as I know, he said he's willing to go over there. I think that's a very good move. That left side of the infield is going to be something to remember. He's when he puts his mind to it. He's a very good defensive player, and third base. Alex Rodriguez, had a similar thing, and look how he turned out.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a lot more helpful for the team as well.
Heath Bell, what do you know about him?
I just hear a lot of stories. I hear he's hilarious, and obviously doing the pop-up slide and the All-Star game, you can kind of see he's probably a character. So I know he gets the job done, and I think we need someone that we can rely on to close the door.
Who'd you have last year? You really didn't have a consistent closer, did you?
Hey, we had Leo Nunez or Juan Carlos Oviedo. With all that happened now, but yeah, he's excellent. He just went through a month where nothing was going right for him, and I'm sure everyone goes through that, and I don't think a lot of people really paid attention to it. But I say the first quarter of the year he was lights out, and his stuff is lights out. He just had one bad stretch.
Nunez, he was the guy who got into the age. Was he the guy at the age issue?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What's his status?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I see he's on the restricted list.
But for the camera, by the way, I just shortcut that. What was the issue?
I guess he talked about, or I guess he really wasn't 28 or 29. He was a year older, and Leo Nunez wasn't his real name. And I mean, I have no idea. I watched a documentary on it like a week later on why some of the players decided to do that. And I mean, it's a mistake he made when he was younger, and I mean, I'm sure he regrets it now. But I mean, if anyone's put in that same situation, I'm pretty sure that they do the same thing Leo did. And my heart goes out to him. I think he's an awesome guy. Being around him, he's very nice, he's absolutely hilarious, and he just made one bad mistake when he was younger.
You still with the team?
As far as I know, I'm not really sure. It says restricted next to his name on the roster, and I mean, there's kind of a language barrier. He speaks English, but not very well, so I don't really keep in much contact with him.
Who do you keep in touch with?
Brian Sanchez, and unfortunately he was waived, I believe, but the Phillies have picked him up. I keep in touch with him pretty regularly. Mike Dunn every now and then, send him a text message, and Burke Badenhop, but he just got signed with the Rays, and we ended up being pretty good friends. And Brett Hayes, I'm very good friends with. I'm actually going to be staying with him in spring training. We keep in contact pretty regularly.
You can
and Brad Hand too. I'm sorry. Yeah, Brad Hand is one of my good friends as well.
I was just going to say, for a while there, every time you mentioned a guy's name, the next thing is on another team. I'm not sure anybody wanted to hang around with you. Where do you see yourself this year?
I mean, I see myself honestly wherever they want me. Like, I mean, if they want me to start hitting, I'll start hitting. I don't care as long as I'm able to put on the uniform and able to play ball. I think I can, but I mean, it's been years, so I'm just saying, like, wherever they decide to put me, middle relief, long, I mean, not closing because Heath Bell, but set up, whatever they want me to do, I'm ready for it.
Do you think you're kind of that 6th, 7th inning type guy? Is that what you?
Yeah, I mean, you tell me what inning to go, I'm always ready.
Yeah.
So,
how does it work? You're on the 40-man roster, and obviously the key is to get on the 25-man roster when the day is done. Do you look? Are you looking at Baseball America? Do you look at those things?
No. I don't pay attention to it because, I mean, like I said before, I'm just happy and blessed to be able to put on a uniform. Even if I don't make the team out of spring training, like, I'll never get down myself. It's just where God decides to put me, and I just have to accept it. So, obviously, I want to start out in the big leagues, but whatever happens. I know I'm going into spring training ready and with the right mindset. So that's all I can control.
Matt Dreyer, what kind of guy is he?
I don't know about him. He's kind of getting. No, I'm just kidding. He's an awesome guy. Spent a lot of time watching football games last night, and took us out to dinner. And we had a great time, and very, very nice. He loves what he does and has a passion for baseball, and it's very respectable.
George Sisson.
He's a character. We talked a lot when I was here, and he actually held onto my car for me. I left it here in Jamestown for a couple of weeks while I went to Instructs, and when I flew back here, picked up my car and went to school.
We didn't have a car, so he was glad to get one.
Yeah, I'm sure. I was wondering why my car looked a little more beat up than I gave it to him. No, but he was hilarious, and I remember one altercation he had last year, and it just like kind of rattled all of us right in the field, and he's screaming at someone, one of the broadcasters for the State College Spikes, and I mean, I've never seen anyone that mad in my life, but he was, I mean, an hour later he was back to himself.
Yeah, George. Well, we ask everybody, who we've had here, talk about George, and they all have a story. I'm going to put that together, and I will put that up on YouTube someday.
Okay.
Yeah, George, this is our remembrances of you. Who was your hero growing up?
As in athletics, I'd say, this is going to sound really bizarre, but Reggie Miller, the basketball player, like everything. I loved basketball. And he was obviously, well, now he's second behind Ray Allen, who's my current favorite basketball player. But he was the best three-point shooter in the league and pretty much all time. And when I was growing up, I mean, all I would do was shoot, shoot, shoot. And I loved, I mean, three-point shooting was my favorite thing. And watching him play and watching him run the baseline, catch, shoot, like it was very exciting to me. As far as baseball, you know, Mo Vaughn was my favorite because he was just happened to be the best hitter on the Red Sox, you know. And then I saw him play in Pawtucket in a doubleheader. He went like 0 for 8, and I didn't like him anymore because he didn't seem like he was trying hard. So when Nomar got there, it ended up being Nomar. And then now for pitching, I mean, Mario. This is also weird. Mariano Rivera is someone I definitely look up to.
Not bad.
Yeah, even though he's a Yankee, but.
Well, so you were from Falmouth, right?
Mm-hmm. Falmouth, yep.
And so therefore you grew up in the wild world of the Boston Red Sox.
Oh yeah. New England sports.
And,
Done pretty well past 10 years.
Does the name Dwight Evans mean anything to you?
Yeah. Yep. That was a little bit before my time.
Now,
I believe.
Was he on the New England Sports Network? Did you remember him at all? Well, there?
No. Was he?
I think so. I may be making that one up. He played in Jamestown like you.
Mm-hmm.
A few years ago. Many, many years ago. The
Cool.
So 2004 was a big year for you in Massachusetts?
Oh, yeah. And that was the year I graduated high school and had my first year in college, too, yeah. And then, obviously, the World Series, and, yeah, it was very exciting.
Do you love that dirty water?
I do. I do love it. As much as I like going down south, and I enjoyed Tennessee, and, you know, going back home is always nice. I mean, of course, I'm like an hour and a half from the city. I don't spend as much time there as, you know, some might think I do, but I do love it up there, yes.
So you're playing at some point. Did you face Pujols?
I did.
I mean, does you a little more perspiration when a guy of his nature's up there, or not?
I guess a little bit, but I mean, at the same time, I won't ever I won't ever look at the hitters because I try to pitch everyone, you know, according to my strengths. And I mean, I know their weaknesses, but I mean, it's Pujols. He doesn't have that many weaknesses, you know. So I did face him once this year. He hit a single off me. I had him 0-2. I was really disappointed. I let that slide, but I was just mad I gave up a hit, really.
Well, I'm sure you're not alone. Was there a pitch or two that when you gave up to somebody and they hit a 450 feet or so, did you say, holy cow, how did that guy do that?
Yeah, Hamilton. I mean, the ball was, I threw it and he hit it. I was like, that was off the plate. Like, I was trying to go off the plate with that. But he hit it like it was right down the middle. And it was opposite. He hit it opposite field, of course. So then I got chewed out. And when I was done pitching, I went inside and watched the video and make sure it was like good 2 balls off the plate. And he's just a freak and decided to, you know, crush it the other way. And I was just like,
what are you gonna do?
All right. Well, welcome, I guess, but you know.
Are there a couple of hitters that you? And I realize this is gonna a year and a half worth of pitching, but where you guys say, oh man, I really hope I don't cycle my way into that guy.
Yeah, anyone that stands way off the plate drives me crazy. I'm like, how am I supposed to pitch this guy? You know, obviously I want to throw the ball away, but he's standing way off the plate. He likes to get his hands extended. Then I want to throw him in, but if I throw him in, it's going to be a ball because he's way off the plate. So I'm just like, it just boggles my mind. But there is one guy that I couldn't get out last year, Michael Martinez. I think he hit like, I don't know, $180, maybe 200 range for the Phillies, and he just dominated my world. Everything I threw to him, he'd smash somewhere, and I was like, whatever, I can't get this guy out.
Were you involved as a spectator? I think it was, there was a contest of kind of throwing at, was it Myers with the Nats? Nigel? Myers? Morgan, yeah. Were you up then?
No, I was in AA actually. We watched it on TV. Yeah. What's crazy, I think it was the game before when Hayes was catching and Nigel Morgan took him out and hurt him put him out for the rest of the year. We were sitting in that locker room. We happened to be actually living in the clubhouse. I'm probably not supposed to say that, but we were watching on TV. You know, Hayes got hurt. 2 hour or hour and a half later, Hatch comes out of the shower, and Leaper, our manager, was standing right there telling him he's going up to big leagues to fill in. And that was pretty cool to see. I mean, not cool to see Hayes get hurt. I'd never wish that upon anyone, but to see like one of your friends you've been playing with get called up for their first time in big leagues, it was like kind of a awakening, So.
Well, and then of course I think it was Josh Johnson. Was it Josh Johnson who?
Volstad, Chris
Volstad. Yeah, he's sort of.
That was exciting. Gabby came in with a clothesline, and
yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
It was just like, holy crap, is this really happening? And we were all standing up there watching, like, get him!
Well, interestingly enough, and Matt will remember this, that the first year they had this hot stove dinner, Volstad and Sanchez came together.
Ah,
yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah.
It was meant to be.
It was meant to be, yeah. Now, Chris is with the Cubs now, right?
Yes. Yep.
And I forgot, did you get Zambrano?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep. So we got, looking like a pretty strong rotation. Volstad is very good too. Don't get me wrong.
Oh no, I know, but Zambrano, when he's on, he's lights out.
He's obviously very competitive and has some fire to him. So
you're being kind.
Yeah.
He's got all that and then some. What's the question do you get asked the most?
Definitely everywhere I go. Like, oh, what do you think about Ozzy? And I'm just like, same answer all the time. The guy tells it like it is, and if you can handle it, then you're going to get along. If you can't handle it, then you're probably not meant to even be playing baseball. So,
right.
Yeah, I mean, if someone tells you your flaws and they call you out on it, that's something you need to hear. That guy obviously cares about you enough to tell you what you're doing wrong, what you need to work on. If he has an issue with you. If he's quiet about it and you're doing something wrong, then for me, it's time to start worrying. Yep.
You're going to have an interesting year. You think about with Jose Reyes, Heath Bell, Zambrano, Ozzie Guillen, and probably more to come.
Yeah.
Steve, I really wish you well, and I'm so excited you're here. I really am.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
This is nifty. And what are you going to bid on tonight?
Well, I heard there's an Albert Pujols ball, maybe something like that. I don't know. I'm not sure yet. We'll have to see what the night brings.
Well, it'll bring some money. It's charity. Keep in mind, you get a nice charitable deduction. And well, Steve, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
I appreciate it ever so much.
All right.
And good luck tonight on the Pujols ball.
Oh, thank you.